Disney, what are you doing to me? Oh, wait, hold on. Before we do anything else, to make sure we're freaking hydrated before we get into this one. I was at my parents' house this past Sunday, and I got a notification from IMDb. Sometimes they give notifications when certain trailers are released. They gave me a little notification that the Marvel upcoming television series Secret Invasion released a trailer this past weekend. And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of interesting. So I went to Disney's YouTube page, and lo and behold, there was not only the Secret Invasion trailer released this past weekend, but also the Mandalorian teaser trailer, as well as an apparently official trailer for Andor. I don't understand how people at Disney are allowed to sleep or do anything other than push content out for their streaming platform. How do you guys have time to eat? How do you have time to sleep? Are you allowed to take vacation? Because it is actually insane how much content Disney has been pushing out lately. I'm gonna have to do a fucking video about this, of course, because I literally just did a video talking about Andor. So yeah, we're just gonna do a video talking about all these trailers. I'm not gonna make a separate video for every single trailer just because that would be insane and I'm already losing my mind enough as it is. And of course, I know that you're probably thinking I probably don't have to do this because no one probably cares about what I think about these trailers, but it's about the principle, okay? I'm gonna do them anyways, and we're gonna get through it together. Big old spoiler alert. Spoiler! Spoiler! For anybody who has not seen any of the following content. Rogue One, Mandalorian Season 1, Mandalorian Season 2, Book of Boba Fett Season 1, Spider-Man Far From Home, and Captain Marvel. And then maybe also just anything that exists in the Star Wars or Marvel cinematic universes. So without further ado, let's get started. I feel like we should probably start with Andor just because I recently made a video on my channel talking about what I thought was the full extent of the trailers that were going to be released for that television show. If I knew that they were going to be releasing an official trailer, I would have probably waited and just reacted to everything all at once. I'm not going to rehash everything that I said in my last video talking about Rogue One, talking about my predictions for the show and what I think of it. If you want to know my full extent of my thoughts and opinions on those, I'm going to link it up here somewhere. I don't really know how YouTube works, but it'll be like somewhere on the screen. I will link that so you can go check that out somewhere over here. Overall, I was, relatively impressed with the trailers for Andor that I've seen thus far. I thought that it was kind of interesting to see that we're taking more of a political thriller / espionage direction for this series rather than, the space magic that we usually expect from Star Wars. It's not necessarily for everybody, but it looks kind of interesting. It seems like it's well executed, a lot of different set pieces and characters that we've kind of seen before, but a lot of new ones as well. It is an interesting take, and I am still a little apprehensive to see a character that we know literally nothing about be the headline figure for this television show. Even if he was somebody that we've seen in Rogue One before, we know literally nothing about him. But it seems like the trailers do indicate that we might delve into his backstory at least a little bit. I don't think that this new trailer is going to really change my mind about anything. I mean, there might be a couple little revelations. I'm guessing at the very least we will see scenes that we've already seen before in the other trailers, but maybe with a little bit of more context or maybe like a little bit more complete clip of the scene that we've seen before. I don't know, but I don't really think it's going to be revolutionary. But let's just, sit down and see if we can figure out what the hell's going on. Okay, so here's something to note right off the bat. These two are both labeled as official trailers. So I don't understand that. That's a little misleading.
Spies. Saboteurs. Assassins. We've all done terrible things on behalf of the rebellion.
Cassian Andor. Don't matter what you tell me or tell yourself. You'll ultimately die fighting these bastards. Wouldn't you rather give it all at once?
Okay, so kind of like I talked about in my other video, it seems like Andor definitely has a chip on his shoulder and has kind of been operating to take down the Empire just because of like spite or because he thinks that they've wronged him, but not necessarily as part of a larger cause. I don't know if this is a me thing, it probably is. Something that's kind of annoying what Star Wars does in the past, or it has done in the past, is when they say things when we know the events that are going to follow, like it takes place in the past on the timeline, where they say things that kind of speak a little bit too much on the nose to what we know is already going to happen, to kind of like wink at the audience and be like, hey, this is going to happen. Hey, we see you. And it's kind of annoying to me. I don't know if that's like a personal thing, and I'm seeing my therapist tomorrow, so maybe I'll talk to her about it and see if we can unpack that a little bit together. But it kind of reminds me of like when Obi-Wan told Anakin in Attack of the Clones, why do I feel like you're going to be the death of me?
Why do I get the feeling you're going to be the death of me?
Because, Anakin was the death of Obi-Wan. So, like kind of a little annoying, but I feel like I'm just like programmed to be annoyed by certain things in Star Wars lately, so I'm gonna try to like check my own biases here.
We've chosen a side. We're fighting against the dark. There is an organ.
Is that the same lady as this lady? They both are blonde and they both have kind of like narrow faces. I can't really get like a head-on angle of this woman. Her name is Velth Sartha or something. I don't know. I don't even remember it. I just saw it. Okay, well, it seems like her name is Edra Miro. Who named these people? We had Ben, we had Luke, and we had Leia as some of the main characters from the original trilogy, and now everybody has like these weird fucking names. I know this is like a science fiction galaxy, but it's like I can't even remember anybody's names at all whatsoever in this new content because they're all weird as hell.
Organized rebel effort. Drill down and get a hunt started.
So it seems like they're starting the efforts now. Maybe that the Empire is just becoming aware of it. I'm still trying to understand the timeline for like, is this already established or are we going to see the actual establishment of the Rebel Alliance? But well, I guess we'll have to see.
When you realize what you've set in motion, people will suffer.
Time has come to force their hand.
At what cost?
Everything!
It's time to force their hand. At what cost? Everything. So basically you're saying you're willing to risk everything to force their hand, but isn't it, like, aren't you trying to protect? Wait, it'll cost you everything to do it. I get what he's trying to say, but it basically makes it seem like he's going to risk everybody's life to do this. But if everyone's dead, then what the hell is the point of the Rebel Alliance? I don't know. I initially wasn't really necessarily sure what this was. I thought it was like the rainy planet where they had all the clones, but then I realized nobody looks even remotely similar to each other, so they're obviously not clones. This, I want to say, looks like a prison, because it looks like they're just torturing them by having them walk around in circles, and they're all wearing the same uniform, and they're barefoot, so it's like nobody's going anywhere. So I'm assuming this is a prison.
Cost.
I think they're in the same room. They're not even in the same room. I don't even think they're talking to each other. Never mind.
Every day we wait, they get stronger.
Yeah, okay, so he's wearing that uniform, so I'm assuming at some point he gets picked up and he gets put in prison, maybe before or after he joins the Rebel Alliance, whatever.
Let's take them by surprise.
So her name is Bix Caleen. I'm not going to remember any of this other than Cassian Andor and the people that I've seen in A New Hope or Rogue One.
For the greater good.
Call it what you will.
Let's call it war.
People are standing up. They're afraid. Right now.
Hold
they're
on.
afraid.
Hold the fucking phone here. Marva Andor. Who else do we know that has the last name Andor? I remember seeing this woman at the end of the teaser trailer. I didn't know who the hell she was. She and him might be related. I'm thinking mother, grandmother. I don't know. She's pretty old looking. I was kind of under the impression, like a lot of our heroes in this franchise, that Andor was an orphan of some sort. But she has the same last name as he does. So maybe either he got adopted by somebody, kind of like Jyn Erso did in Rogue One, or maybe this is a surviving member of his family. I don't know.
Star Wars Andor, 3-episode premiere, streaming September 20th.
Okay, so, I mean, that really didn't give us that much to go off of in terms of, like, new information. It seems like we're getting a little bit of context as to what's going on. I will say that the whole, I don't even remember what her first name is, but Lady Andor seems kind of, I wasn't expecting that, so that's kind of interesting. It's kind of piqued my interest a little bit. That is something that we do not know from the other two trailers, so... I've talked a little bit about The Mandalorian on my channel, but usually in the context of using it as a positive comparison compared to the other things in the Star Wars franchise that I dislike that have been released as of late. I really like the show The Mandalorian. I think it's probably one of the most successful installments in Star Wars in a long time, at least maybe since I've been alive, I want to say. I don't know. That's kind of a bold statement. I have to think about that. I don't think it's a perfect show. I don't think it's like absolutely groundbreaking and like remarkable in terms of its novelty or its, you know, execution, but I think it's really, really good, and I think that it shows genuine attempt by the franchise to make different type of content that isn't like the big spectacle that we would come to expect from Star Wars, but rather something that's just a nice, focused, thoughtful, well put together story with a compelling character. It is crazy to me that the Mandalorian as a character is able to convey more emotion, more compelling screen presence than 99% of the other characters that we've seen in Disney's version of Star Wars. Pedro Pascal does so much with so little, and it's very engaging to watch. There are a couple things about the Mandalorian that make me a little apprehensive going into this teaser trailer. I don't really know anything about what to expect from season 3. There was a couple things, like my last bit of impression of the Mandalorian and the last times we've seen him in this franchise have made me a little bit wary. The first being most of season 2 seemed to be just functioning to setting up other spin-offs and television shows that are going to be released in the Star Wars universe, for example, the Book of Boba Fett, and then the other lady, Akshoka, whatever her name is. But it seemed like a lot of the episodes were just functioning to set up other shows, which is kind of annoying to me. Like, I know that shows do that and that can happen, but when it happens so often, it just makes you feel like the show is not really functioning in its own right. It's just functioning to spin off other things. The plot has to kind of conform to that, which I don't always like, and when it happens so often, it gets a little bit irritating. The Mandalorian also made an appearance in 2 standalone episodes in the Book of Boba Fett that had literally nothing to do and that were completely detached from whatever the hell was going on with the rest of the plot in the Book of Boba Fett. I wish I could tell you, but I have actively tried to block that out of my memory. Don't get me wrong, like, I liked those episodes. I thought they were kind of interesting, but I felt like the writers had a vision for where they wanted to start off in season 3, but it didn't really coincide with where we left off in season 2, so it took the opportunity of Mandalorian and Boba Fett having some sort of connection to just include 2 episodes where they would just exposition dump and get Boba Fett to where we needed to be to start off season 3 without having to waste episodes on that in season 3, which is definitely a choice. You know, I didn't necessarily mind it because I really didn't like the Book of Boba Fett, so anything that didn't like include that story was totally fine with me. But it is an interesting choice, and it makes me a little bit apprehensive of like how the overall story is coming together and sometimes the clunkiness with which Star Wars progresses with its story. So I'm hoping that we don't have any of that in season 3, or maybe just less of it. But I am interested to see what happens. Like I said, I don't really know or remember much about what happened where we left off with the Mandalorian, so it'll be interesting to see.
This is the one that you saved? You are as its father. A clan.
I would honestly pay big money to get a little pod like that for my cat so that I could just take her everywhere with me.
A clan of 2.
Group of close-knit and interrelated families, especially associated with families in the Scottish Highlands, doesn't really fit. Group of people with a strong common interest, family, especially a large one. I'm just trying to keep our facts straight here, that's all I'm trying to do.
But you have removed your helmet.
Okay, it's starting to come back to me a little bit. I'm sorry I'm pausing so much. The Mandalorian at the end of season 2, for whatever reason, like, removed his helmet. And we've only seen this happen like once or twice in the entire series, but he was put in a situation where he had to remove his armor. But we never see him do that unless if he is like literally forced to at gunpoint and he has to protect somebody. And this is against the Mandalorian decree. You know, they're a group called the Mandalorians. There's the character and then there's the group. I don't remember what the Mandalorian character's name is. He has a name. I just don't remember what it is, and I'm just not going to look it up. So I know that the Mandalorians as a group have kind of like shunned him or disowned him in a way because he disobeyed the rules. And this is where the Mandalorian, if I can say a place where it does get kind of convoluted and uninteresting to me, this is the kind of stuff where I'm just kind of like, I don't really care. It is interesting in a perspective that the Mandalorian as an individual has this very strict set of guidelines and values that he lives his life by, and that sometimes they contrast with what the Mandalorians are required to do, but he's very much also motivated by those decrees as well. It's interesting when it impacts the individual, but when they're just like exposition dumping about the rules to be a Mandalorian and like all the decrees and this like specific rules and guidelines that everyone has to follow, that's when I get a little bit bored because I feel like it gets a little bit excessive at times.
Then you are a Mandalorian no more.
Fine. I, for some reason, thought that was Black Widow for a second. I do not know where my mind just went. So at the end of season 2, this lady, I don't remember her name, but I'm going to call her Susan. So Susan wanted the black saber, and she attempted to get it from Moff Gideon, I think his name is. Because the black saber has like allegiances, kind of like how the wands do in Harry Potter, because she did not win the black saber in battle, it now doesn't respond to her or doesn't like listen to her, so she didn't earn it. So she's kind of like miffed because she didn't get the black saber in the way that she was supposed to. If that's incorrect, I wouldn't be surprised because, like I said, I don't remember a lot of this.
Your cult.
Wait, what is her name? That doesn't even look remotely familiar to me. If you had a gun to my head and said, what is the name of this woman, I would probably like get shot. Oh,
Fractured our people.
Wait a second. Wait a gosh darn minute here. Is that the wreckage to the Death Star? I saw the wreckage to the Death Star in The Rise of Skywalker, another thing that I'm actively trying to remove from my memory. It was on a planet that was covered in water, like it was partially submerged in water, but obviously the wreckage could be on other planets because it was a pretty big station and everything. This kind of looks circular, kind of like the eye of the Death Star, but I feel like we saw that on that other planet though. I don't know. This is so unimportant. It's probably nothing, and it's probably just like random wreckage for something that doesn't really matter, but like kind of looks Death Star-ish. I don't know.
Where were you then?
Rather than skydiving, that would be kind of a baller way to do that instead of having a nice little like leisurely drop with a parachute, just fucking like jetpack. I don't know who these other people are. I don't know if he got disowned from the Mandalorian Guild. Maybe he's still friends with them or allies with some of them for some reason. That kind of is confusing to me.
Did you think your dad was the only Mandalorian?
It's like, I don't know, I'm a baby. What in the name of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph was that? Did I Okay, so for those of you who do not remember Return of the Jedi, there was like a little emotional support rat or whatever the hell it was that was sitting next to Jabba the Hutt on the sail barge. One good thing about that movie, one of the reasons why I like that movie so much, is because that little creature gets blown the fuck up by Luke, Han, and Leia at the end of the first act. Now there's like a tree full of them. I would just never go to this planet ever again. That is just the most horrifically terrible thing I couldn't even imagine existing on this planet if I saw that. And I don't, now I understand what people are doing.
All right, kid. Hang on. You ready for an adventure?
This is so precious. I love this. It's like me and my cat. About what I would expect from a teaser trailer for The Mandalorian, definitely enough to keep your interest and, you know, incite some curiosity as for what we can expect, but not really giving away much of what's going to happen. It seems like he is at odds on the one hand with the rest of the Mandalorian, but on the other hand, he's like jumping out of a plane with them using their jetpack. So I'm not really sure what's going on. Could be that there's just other people that aren't part of the Mandalorian Guild anymore, but they have armor or for whatever reason. I don't really even get a sense of what we're doing on this mission or what the new adventure lies ahead. It just seems like we're just going on an adventure. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I think Moff Gideon is still alive. Maybe it's something having to do with that, but even at the end of the Book of Boba Fett, which is where we last saw the Mandalorian, we didn't really get a sense of what was to come. But it could be an interesting series. Obviously, I'm going to watch it because I like the Mandalorian and I love Pedro Pascal playing the Mandalorian. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we're going to have to wait till we get more information. Lastly, we're going to be talking about Marvel. This is something that I haven't really talked a lot about on my channel. Actually, I don't even think I've talked about it at all. And honestly, it's a topic that probably would warrant its own video. I really like the MCU. I didn't really have any experience watching any of it, and I've never read the comics before, but I didn't really have any exposure to the movies until Endgame was set to come out, and my boyfriend got tickets from somebody at work to go see it on opening night. Because I hadn't seen any of them, we basically had to marathon all of the movies up until Endgame. And in that process, I really started to understand why people loved Marvel so much and why they love the movies, because they are really fun. It is absolutely insane to me that Disney owns the rights to a franchise that on the one hand so effortlessly like coincides different overlapping stories seamlessly without like breaking continuity and while having a very established, very cohesive plan. And then on the other hand, having the rights to a franchise where they can't go like 3 movies in a simple trilogy without directly contradicting each other between 1 and 2. I will say over the years though, especially since Endgame came out, it seems like the MCU has fallen off a little bit for me. It seems like there's just so much content lately and it becomes very difficult to kind of catch up with everything. I blinked and there was just like 5 television shows and 4 movies that I missed. And it's hard because you can't just like skip around to ones that you like. You kind of have to watch everything because otherwise you miss certain things that are interconnected to other stories and you feel like you're missing a gap of that story if you don't watch everything. And it's just a huge time commitment and it's just a lot. Marvel doesn't really give you a lot of time to miss them. I also feel like there's a bit of sameness that we feel with Marvel lately. A lot of the characters don't really feel quite as distinctive and their own own unique voice as much as maybe they did with some of the older heroes. It seems like a lot of the people have the similar personality where they're quippy and sarcastic, but kind of badass, and they don't really have any sort of distinctive personal attributes that make them feel more original. And maybe that's just because there are so many fucking people in this franchise. It just kind of makes it feel like you're watching the same movie over again. And I know there'll be a lot of people that'll disagree with me on that, and that's not to say that every movie since Endgame feels that way. There's obviously some exceptions that I really like, but overall it just feels like Marvel is falling a little bit more flat for me than I would like to see. Regarding this particular trailer, now I have seen Far From Home and I have seen Captain Marvel at some point in my life, but I don't really remember when I watched it or what happened while I was watching it. I know that those two films kind of allude to the events that take place in Secret Invasion. Basically, it tells the story of these shapeshifters that are basically infiltrating our planet, and you can't really tell where they're infiltrating or who's infiltrating because these creatures have the ability to perfectly replicate humans so that you can't really distinguish who's real and who's a fake, which can be very dangerous. It's kind of like White Zetsu infiltrating the ninja army during the Naruto Shippuden Great Ninja War arc. We'll get to that in another video, I promise. Beyond that, I don't really know that much about this series or this story. I have done no knowledge of it if it was discussed at all in the comic book. If I get certain details incorrect in this trailer, you know, I'm just trying to do my best, okay? I'm like overheating right now, so let's just watch the trailer. Who's it gonna be? Is that, I'm assuming that probably Nick Fury. I don't know.
For years, you've been avoiding Earth. I have called for your help plenty of other times, and you've been pretty content to let those calls go straight to voicemail.
Yeah, well, this is different.
I'm like almost hesitant to like make predictions about this because I'm pretty sure that people who are more knowledgeable about the MCU and even just the comic books will tell me that I am fucking wrong or stupid. I remember at the end of Far From Home, it was discovered in the post-credit scene or mid-credit scene, Captain Hill and Nick Fury were actually shapeshifters, and it was implied that their involvement throughout that movie, it was like shapeshifters pretending to be them, I guess. How long that was happening, I'm not entirely sure, but I guess that's what they're referring to. Up. I'm just gonna put it down.
How much do you know about your security detail?
What do you mean, how much do I know about him?
Interesting.
Fury? We're gonna be very careful now.
Ah, wait. Hold on. This is kind of funny. I don't know if it'll be funny to anybody else except me. He was in Rogue One. He played a character whose name I don't remember at all, and I probably will never remember because who are we kidding? And it's funny because Rogue One is kind of a prerequisite to the television series Andor. So that's kind of funny. It's like a Star Wars thing. Wait, actually, Samuel L. Jackson was also in Star Wars. That's hilarious. Ha ha ha.
Very careful now.
Oh, fuck. That would freak me out. Yeesh. Kind of a flex though. So it looks like we're torturing somebody. It seems like they might be interrogating people. Maybe they have a way of telling that people are shapeshifters and they're like interrogating people who are suspect with whatever the hell is in this syringe. Maybe this is kind of like where paranoia starts to set in with the government, which could be another interesting take as well.
You're in no shape for this fight that lies before us.
Looks like someone's trying to get in.
The beginning.
Wait a second. Hold the fucking phone here. Is that Emilia Clarke? I know I said this in my Andor trailer. Hold on, let me see. Emilia Clarke. It is Emilia Clarke. I was right this time. Wow, so that's 3 people now that are in the Star Wars universe, but that are also in the Marvel universe. There has to be more than that though, right? Natalie Portman, Ben Mendelsohn, there's Emilia Clarke. Donald Glover was also in the MCU. Woody Harrelson, if you want to count Woody Harrelson, I guess being in Venom. Ooh, wait. Plays 17 packs a day. I think he was played by that guy who worked with Jane Foster in the Avengers / Oh, and Poe Dameron, he was Moon Knight. Lupita Nyong'o, or whatever her name is, Maz. Kind of an incestuous vibe going on between Star Wars and Marvel. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but there's a lot of crossover. Long story short, that is Emilia Clarke. What she's going to be doing in this franchise, I have no idea. And do I actually like care that much? Not necessarily, but I'm glad that I actually correctly identified somebody in a trailer. So anyways.
Beginning.
This is my war alone. And I'm the last person standing between them and what they really want. is that?
That's what I want to know, man. He's with the eye patch again. Seems like it could be an interesting movie. I like when we get a little bit more grounded to reality. Like, I really liked The Winter Soldier, because we have these people who are heroes and that are powerful in certain ways, but they're not larger than life, the most absolutely overpowered, overscaled people on planet Earth. I feel like I probably said about 1,000 wrong things that people who love the comics are gonna like yell at me for, but please don't do that because I'm just doing my best. But I feel like this could be a really interesting show, and again, I like I said, it is kind of hard to keep up with a lot of the Marvel content, but this is one that I feel like could be good. That was a lot. So I really hope that Disney doesn't release any other major trailers in between the time that I finish filming this and the time I get it uploaded, because otherwise I'll just throw my laptop off the balcony. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, make sure to like and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments what you think of these videos and these trailers. In the meantime, I'm gonna go pay attention to my cat, because otherwise she will murder me in my sleep. So, bye!